Okay, so we're going to start. Hi everyone, and welcome to this training about the automatic track loading functionality that has been developed by Smile80 since version 1.1.4. My name is Francesco Sacchi, and I will be your trainer for today. This training will cover the functionalities of version 1.1.4, but it's also valid for the following versions, at least till version 1.3 of Smile80. So also for those that will install the automatic track loading in future versions, this training is valid. There could be minimal differences. This is today's agenda, divided in 8 points, and the duration expected of the training is within 4 hours. So as first argument, we will check the architecture of the solution developed that uses various software from Electric80. Then we will try to see how to configure and start up a system after it has been installed, also with some troubleshooting capability, obviously related to the automatic track loading functionality. Then we will do a couple of simple exercises that I will do for reasons of time, but the material will be provided also to you, so you will be able to check out again and maybe try on your simulation systems when you are going to install on a new plant. Then we proceed with a deeper sight on how the automatic track loading integrates with the SDM, and an introduction on how to customize strategies. Will be able to use the load plan that is provided by the track loading system, and other exercises about 2 specific scenarios, including the ability to simulate. In the end, we will have little troubleshooting and logging guide, and obviously there will be time for questions between the various points of the agenda. If you have any questions, feel free to interrupt me. So as first point, we check the automatic track loading and the track loading system architecture. So a little clarification: automatic track loading, or ATL, is the functionality, while TLS, or track loading system, is the C# software that has been developed to manage the load pattern, load plan, container, and we will see in detail later. So as we see in this slide, Smile80 since actually version 1.1.4, this is also valid for version 1.3, provides the TLS functionality integrating multiple software. So we have the track loading system, that is a C# software developed with the .NET 6. We have used a clean architecture that we will see later, but just for an introduction. It has been developed for entity framework with a code-first approach. It means that the database is created after the C# code. As a practical installation, we have decided that it will be installed inside the SDN-DB, but the tables are independent from the tables of SDM, and they are all in the track loading system. There are no stored procedures since the logic are in C#. The idea is not to provide the source code to the projects, and we will see if this is sustainable in the future, obviously. But there is a plugin support that we will also see later about the ability to develop custom auto-positioning strategies for the load plans to be able to satisfy the requirements of the various plans. So what is the TLS doing in the solution? It's the manager of the load pattern and container type, and its role is to decide and determine the load plan, obviously with the interaction of the user. When the load plan is created, it is exported to SDM and also LGV manager. Not transport orders management, because those are managed as normal by SDM. So, if there are any questions, please interrupt me. Now I explain what's SDM. SDM basically will receive the shipment from the ERP or host, and then it will forward it to the track loading system. We will see later in detail how. It decides also the dock door. Then the shipment in SDM remains in standby until the load plan is received back from TLS, including optional stop operations and other parameters. The SDM obviously manages the shipment's life and physically executes the track loading by executing the transport orders, by releasing the transport orders to LGV manager. LGV manager, above its normal capabilities, also receives the load plan from the track loading system to be able to associate the shipment to the dock door. And this is basically needed to know if the trailer identification mission is needed. For those who don't know, this is a physical requirement, because when we do track loading with the double forks LGVs, and the first mission that goes in the trailer has 2 pallets on 2 rows at least, the LGV is not able to identify correctly the truck. So it needs a further mission that will be executed by LGV manager with an empty LGV before starting the track loading. Obviously, it executes the mission received from SDM and the communication with dock door, so also the PLC. And there is, in fact, also a new message type called dock status. We will see later that send the information about the dock door to SDM and track loading system. So in this slide, I have shown how the application can be executed about track loading system application. So it is, as I said before, a C# application. It should run as a Windows service in the production environment, but for debugging, it can be executed in console, simply executing the executable file. So as I wrote here, it's not necessary to have a different executable like it happens with SDM. because on the .NET applications, those can be executed as a service or as in console without changing the executable. So if you execute in console, you can see the logs. It does not have a WinForms Web UI or something like that. All the user interface is obviously integrated in the Smiley Web UI. So it is divided in two parts: the service that is shown here, and also the backend for front end, so the APIs. There is one API that is deployed together with the other APIs under Microsoft IaaS, and it's obviously used to communicate to the web UI for the pages related to the truck loading system. So this is an information about one of the functionality that has been developed. That is basically the shipments page. I show you briefly the page so we can have a better example. I need to add a shipment actually. This is the usual shipments page of the Smiley Web UI that is reachable from the menu shipment management. And what we have done is to integrate the data that are about the truck loading system and provided by the truck loading system in this page. So what you see here about the shipment is not only data that are on the table shipping.shipment of SDM, but it's a composition of the data of shipping.shipments of SDM and the table shipments of the truck loading system. And this functionality is developed using the API composition. And this is already implemented. It's in the API BFF.shipping of Smiley 80. And the functioning is simply that when the user interface, so the web UI, requires for data, the BFF, the backend for front-end, forwards the request both to the SDMDB, reading with a view, and to the truck loading system service using a message on the RabbitMQ queuing system. Then it joins the data and returns them to the user interface. So this is just an introduction. We don't need to modify this part, but it can explain that to correctly see the shipments page in a system with automatic truck loading, the automatic truck loading system must be working. So now an introduction to the web pages. Again, this is the page we have seen. This slide explains which columns and functionalities are from track loading system, and which are from CDM, but related to automatic track loading. So for example, we see that the track loading progress, so the real execution of transport orders, is managed by SDM, and also the track loading status, while other information, for example, the ability to set and change eventually the container type or trailer type, is the same name. What's the trailer name or container name? What is the selected load pattern? And if the load plan is ready, as well as these actions that can be executed on the shipment, are executed information that comes from track loading system, and actions, in the case of these buttons, that are executed directly towards the track loading system. So this is the page, another important page, that is the load plan shipment management page. It is accessible from the shipment. We will see a bit in detail later, but basically it allows the operator to associate every stock unit to a position, also with the stacking capabilities. So the load plan is based on a pattern. This is reachable in a web page that is used to manage all the load patterns. It is called load pattern master data. And for every pattern, it's possible, obviously, to edit, changing how many stock units will be added in each position, and how they will be aligned and spaced. And there is also support for stock operations that are customizable. So these are just the default ones. And as you can see, there is the possibility also to select a loading strategy that is the strategy that is customizable actually by you, the project programmers, in case it's needed. And it provides the ability to automatically place the stock units in the load pattern to create a proper load plan. Anyway, the operator can change for the specific shipment the order of the stock units. So another page managed by the track loading system is the container type master data. This contains which are the trailers, basically. It has also information that are length, width, and height, and the track loading system will verify that the size of the stock units while creating the load plan can match with the length, width, and height that are configured for that container. Lower in this page, there is the possibility to associate the container type to the load patterns. So, for example, we have created a load pattern with a certain instructor. We want it to be used for one or more containers. We can do it in this page. The first one added will be default, but the default obviously can be changed later. I can show you quickly the page is working. So from the menu, in the shipments section, all the pages are related to automatic recording are these. We can see the container, the load pattern master data. So in this case, these are the available load patterns. We can open one randomly. So here we have the possibility to modify what we prefer, change the number of stock units. It can reach 3 stock units per position. Normally this is not done, but if in some plants it's necessary, there is this possibility. We can manage the alignment. In case of centered, you can select if the units will be close, so far or near. And there's, as I said before, the possibility to add a stop operation. These are customizable. So, for example, it's possible to create an action that is labeling and damage together. There's also the choice of load date type. By default, this is not used. It can be managed by the loading strategy to decide what to do with different pallet types or different stock units. Or if the pattern is valid so only for a certain type of load date, for example. Obviously, from here it's possible to create a new one, adding information. Select a strategy. We will see later how also to add a new one. And the pattern type for now, there is only static. In the future, there will be the possibility to have dynamic pattern types, but for now, they are not present. So now we have our new pattern. I can go to the container type page. Quickly add a container. Some random data. And then you see that it's not the status is red. Means that it's not ready. It cannot be used at the moment because it has no default load pattern. So a default load pattern is mandatory for every container type to be able, obviously, to use the container type. So now I associate, and the new container type test one is now available for usage. So I'll quickly show you what it means if I activate this test shipment. Now I can select after activation the container type, and there is also the test one that I selected just a few seconds ago. If I choose this, it will probably not valid because it was too small. So if we try also to auto position, we get an error. The handling units count is more than the footprints. So there is no place for the stock units because the shipment that I created has 11 expected stock units, and there is space only for 4. So in this case, the operator can create a new pattern from here, or edit the pattern. In this case, a variant will be created. So, for example, we can create enough capacity for the shipment. At this point, the auto positioning works, and it distributes these stock units with the logics that are in the default auto-positioning strategy. So basically, it follows the load sequence, that is this field, then also the load sequence of the delivery item, each specified, that is not visible in this page. But in theory, the operator the operator can see that the delivery item changes because the item is different. And also the more steady, in case of parity of the sequence, also the delivery item, it checks the weight. So the bigger weight first goes in first position. So I can save obviously the plan or close without saving. Opening again, we have the situation as it was with this test variant pattern. If I change to test again, it's not possible to use it. There are questions, please ask.
I got one question. Now, if you go back to the container type master data, you will see both plan associated to the container.
The pattern? No,
yeah.
Because the variant, good question, I forgot to tell, the variant are created only for that shipment. So they are temporary, a temporary copy of a generic pattern.
Another question, can you assign more than one pattern to the same container type?
See, absolutely. We can do it. I will demonstrate it now. Do this example. So now also the training one is associated to test. You see that training one is also associated to training one container type. At this point, if I go in the shipments page, we can see in the load plan that if we have the container type test one that is associated to the shipment, we also see now the possibility to use training one, that is this one. Can do the auto positioning also for this, for example. And also I can position manually also in the strangest way. Just for example, obviously it's not a very useful.
I got another question. If you have more than one pattern associated to a container type, and you know that for one shipment you have one specific container type, one with more than one load plan. When you start the shipment, the SDM will select automatically the first load plan that can accept all the pallet requested to the shipment and start the shipment automatically, or every time the operator has to select the best load pattern manually and then start manually the shipment?
So by default, the selection of the load pattern and load plan is not performed automatically, except that they can be received by the ERP. Anyway, it's possible in SDM to forward to the truck loading system the choice by name of the correct container type and also a correct load pattern. Also by default, it's when the operator selects the container type from here, for example, or if the information is sent by SDM, but only about the container type and not the load pattern. So when the operator selects the pattern, the container type, the default load pattern will be set. Okay, now it gives me an error because it's already set. Can change it. For example, training one. Then I change it back to test one. Again, I expect to have the default one associated, and that is it. The disposition is not made in this case because I chose a pattern by default that was too small. But if when setting the container type, the default pattern has the correct enough capacity, the load plan is auto-populated. So another thing to complete the reply to your question, also by default, the operator has to start the track loading, but we will see later in an exercise how this is possible to be automated. There is also Matteo Rastelli with a question.
Yes, it's not clear to me where we can easily find the orientation of the pallets in the load pattern.
Yes, sure. So it's obviously to be set in the load pattern. It's simply by clicking here.
And when you show, let's say, the recap of all information about the pattern, where you can find this information. I mean, in the old GUI, there was like N and W, identify narrow or wide.
Okay, now I show you. Here it's graphical.
Okay.
Let's see, because now I've changed the. I will select another one. Seems I'm having a connection problem. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
No, yes.
Yes. Okay, but the VPN is at that problem. Seems now maybe it's returning. In fact, also the web page was not responding.
Meanwhile, I have a question. So,
Okay.
Does this
Yes.
also support in case the load pattern is coming from the host messages?
Yes, but by name. So the load pattern will need to be manually created in the web page. And then by name, it's possible to send it from with the shipping message, not from ERP, and it will be forwarded to the track loading system to automatically select it.
If we are getting a complete pattern, so this does not support a complete pattern from the host message.
No, exactly. No, there is not a possibility to import new patterns directly from those messages. No, at the moment, this is not developed. So back to Matteo question. We selected this is okay, it's too small to have auto positioning. But as you can see, you see in this way if it's wide or narrow, no?
Yep.
And also for the stacking, it's performed not in the, it's performed directly here. So in theory, okay, I can add also more than possible, physically possible, but you can see we can add multiple stock units to the same position. If they are two, they are shown like this. Okay. So I go back to the slide. Okay, next page, the dock doors. The dock doors is obviously a page that shows the data about the doors that are sent to SDM by the LGV manager. So there is the possibility to disable it in SDM so that it's not usable, but also it's necessary to receive correct flags of enabling from the LGV manager. We will see later how this check can be changed because typically it's something that changes in every plant. We have by default some flags that are checked, and when at least one flag is not good or for more than 1 minute we don't receive information about the dock, the automatic availability goes to red. So the door is no more usable for automatic truck loading. So I show you the page here. So here we have only 3 in this training environment. I can also clear, I will get an error because there is nothing at the moment, it's empty. So this can be useful, for example, in case there are dirty stock units from cancelling or so on, something like that. It's possible to disable. At this point, it can be associated to a shipment, but the shipment will not be able to start. And then turn off automatic availability is a functionality that basically also avoids does not allow the system to use for automatic truck loading, maybe because in that moment the operator decided that dock must be available for manual truck loading or other reasons without disabling it. There are questions. Now I will go to the next slide. Okay, here we see the web UI 3D and 2D representation of the dock doors. So they are represented not like a full location, but like a rectangle that appears when a shipment with truck loading is associated to a dock door. There are these dots here, it has different colors. Green, it means that it's okay, also in progress. Red, there is an alarm or suspended. Gray, when it is waiting, so before the shipment has been started. So here you see it's not shown. There are here three docks in this plant. It's not shown anything because in this shipment I have not associated a dock door. now I will do it. I could force these flags are used to force to use this dock or staging area. If they are false, the system could also use different ones if these are occupied. Now I don't care, it's all free. So now it should appear the shipment on the dock door. It was displayed because probably the connection was dropped. Let's check on this one. Yes, in fact, it's here. So we see that now it's gray, visible in the 2D also, view from the top. It's in alarm, but the track loading status is ready, no progress. This is the selected container type and load pattern. And these are more details that can be seen in this sidebar. It's also possible to suspend the shipment or to resume it. Now it's suspended, I can no more suspend, I can resume it. And the suspension is of 3 types, and it depends by the shipment, how the shipment is made. So if a shipment has both track loading and pre-staging, you can use the shipment suspension. That is like suspending pre-staging and then suspending track loading together. So this blocks everything. If a shipment has only automatic track loading, so direct, without pre-staging, these two will return an error because they try to suspend the pre-staging phase that does not exist. So only this would be possible. Instead, in case of no track loading shipment, just for your information, out of the scope of this training, but a pre-staging only shipment can only be suspended with pre-staging suspension. This action is the same that we have in this page. You see it opens the same operations. And then there is the historical shipping orders page. Where you can see the historicized shipments. And this information is all stored in SDMDB, but we have also managed to export the load plan to have a visibility of it. So it's possible to click and visualize the load plan. So you see this, yeah, this is a test that I made previously. So the data will be stored, it's saved in XML, so it's static. Very quick info about another software that is involved in the communication. It is SDM middleware. I anticipate you that it will be probably removed in future version. It's necessary at the moment because SDM uses XML messages while track loading system uses JSON. Also, GV Manager uses XML. So this is a translator of messages. And it also forwards messages that need to go to, for example, from track loading system, both to LGV Manager and SDM. It will run normally as a service. There's no need for changing this in this software, but it's useful that you know of its existence. Okay, this is the last slide of this first part.
Francesco?
Sì.
Sorry, before going ahead, I have just a question about Web UI.
Yes.
If we have to customize the view that is involved in the track loading, like container type or load pattern, are them open? The view, the DFF?
And these are not open. It's C# code in the track loading system. So the initial idea is not to make it customizable, but we will see if it's necessary. We will provide a solution for it.
Okay, we will discuss outside this course, but for example, in Georgia Pacific, for sure, we have to be customized because we have a load pattern family and okay, but we can discuss outside this course.
Yeah, it's useful that you share with us these feedbacks also maybe with my managers, but for the moment I will also mark down this information and I will talk with the product owners.
Okay, thanks.
Is it, you say Georgia Pacific?
Yes, Jackson.
Okay. So this is slide just an informative slide about the messages that work in this system. So we see the track loading system with its database here on the left. And the communication of track loading system with the external world is only through messages with a RabbitMQ. So it communicates with its backend for front end, that then we communicate with the web UI, but also with the middleware, and therefore to SDM history for the historization, and with the LGV Manager for the information about the load plan, and from LGV Manager we receive the information about the load status. Okay, obviously the content of this slide will be given to you after the training, all the slides, and there are also the links to the online documentation for more in detail information. So if there are no questions about this, I will move to the second part. Second part is configuration and startup. So maybe it's a bit more interesting than the theory. Let's go. And here there is a note. The second slide should already be performed by the SDM by my late installer. It is like this, like that. Sorry, I have already tested with our team. So just for your knowledge, there must be this row in the table common application of SDM. Then this setting must be enabled to communicate with the track loading system. and also LGV manager actually, because the ship message is also needed by LGV manager. And also these render dispatchers that exist by default and work on RabbitMQ must be enabled. Again, they should be enabled by default. This instead is not by default. So LGV manager needs to enable the tracks interface by setting this flag to true in this file. Probably can show it to you. Yeah, so this is the LGV manager source code. Now, when you have a plant that is installed by Smile80 in this path, you will have the source code, as you probably know, at least the ones that have already installed and used Smile80. You can open the solution. In this case, I open it on the server, and reaching the file tracks interface. You have to change this flag from false to true. And then recompile. So to recompile, here there are the instructions to recompile and redeploy the LGV manager. Obviously, in debugging, you can run it in Visual Studio as usual. It's also necessary to do this change in the LGV manager. Okay, here is the UI exec config. It's also for the service. You need to add this information. This is fundamental, otherwise the track missions will not work. So in this case, I have modified the UI file. Basically, you need to comment out this or remove it, the selected one, and add this key. This is H2, and then also simulation setting. There is a shipment handler. There is the need to add this setting. So at the moment, with LGV manager, this operation must be executed. Then a little info about the LGV manager simulation of dock doors. So this is about simulation. This is the PLC simulator. To enable the signals of the dock door, you need to go in the simulator and set to 1 the proper flags. This depends on how it is configured the LGV manager. So in this case, I mean, normally for sure every row is for a different PLC. In this case, the number 2 is the door number 18, door 18. This is door 17, and this is door 16. I show you what happens if I go in the simulator and change those flags. So I move to the dock door page, and you see at the moment I have automatic availability all okay. But if I go in LGV manager, in this case I obviously have the UI activated. This is simulator. You have to select the correct PLC. For example, if I do this, expect this. I clicked some of the bits of the dock door 18. you see that I have had an update, and it became doc ready false and automatic availability false. Now I try to start a shipment here, I get an error associated to this door, I mean. Now I put back the 1 to 1 the correct flags, and it's back to green. Also doc ready. And this is through the DKST message. Okay, here there is a note. If you want to change how to be able to work on the dock door, you can change this function on SDM. Another thing that is mandatory to do is to add the track identification plugin into Smart. If I don't know if you have received but the link to the files for this training, to the exercises, they are in the convocation of the meeting.
Yes, yes.
Okay, just for convenience, I add in the chat. In those files, there is also one second, if I find them. So in the support files, there is this zip Smart Track Identification plugin, and these are the needed files for Smart, at least in the latest release of Smart. So I already did it in this system. It's in the Smart folder. Plugin. You need to add those two files and restart the Smart service. Without this, I think that it's not possible to do the stop operations before entering the trailer, and probably also some parameters are not managed correctly. Honestly, I'm not aware of the details, but it's something that is required for sure to enter also the track. Okay, the setup of the door in SDM. So what we need to do is that is to fill this table shipping.doc. Now I show you on Management Studio. In this case, we have 3 docs. The name must be the same of LGV Manager. And this reflects the situation more or less of this page. Another table that is then figure, this is the doc signal. It contains the results of the doc status message with the latest last update date time. So what do you have to configure here? Adding these rows, probably, and set the ID trailer location. So you associate a SDM container that is a location to the dock statically. For reference, in this case, we have these locations. Okay, so associated to the door. You see that the locations can have different names, but here you need to have the name known by LGV Manager. Otherwise, the doc status message will not work. So what are these locations? These are locations of type trailer or of type automatic track loading conveyor. It's like ANCRA. We will see a bit later what it is, but in general, you have to create these locations with the correct coordinates so that it is possible to see them in the 2D, 3D page. And also, you must create a number of positions and rows that is at least equal to the maximum possible of all the trailers, containers that you will use in this plant. I don't know if this is clear, but these are locations, no? Like there is a warehouse USP create a container block storage. There is also the possibility to create trailer and automatic track loading conveyor. Okay. Another configuration possible is about the stop operation and damages. So this can be configured in the upsetting.json file of track loading system service. They are no more than labels, and except the flag should stop. So should stop false is for actually only the dummy stop operation, means that no stop will be done. The others will forward a flag to LGV manager that will forward a bit to smart. And before the last segment entering the track, the LGV will stop in alarm. By default, that is it. The operator will not see on the panel what is the reason of the stop. If they need to check because they don't know what is the stop operation to be done, at the moment, or at least by default, they need to go in the shipment and go in the load plan and check if there is a stop operation like this in this position. Like this to see the name. To be labeling or etc. So if you go in the track loading system folder, track loading system service folder, editing this file, you can add stop operation. Now it's running in console, so I will stop with Ctrl+C, otherwise you have to stop it in the service. Here. Restart the track loading system, and now if I go in the web page, you see an internal server error because it didn't respond for some time because I stopped it. If I go in the load pattern, there is also Francesco training the new step operation. Okay, then this is another advanced parameters table, operation parameter definition. And this is used to calculate the operation point action and pre-operation point action parameters for LGV. If you leave it empty, nothing will be sent to LGVs about these parameters. Otherwise, in case of a matching row for that container type or that row spacing, alignment, etc., in case of there is a match, it will provide the numbers that are here, 2 LGBs. So I don't know about the details about the numbers. This depends by the LGBs. But for example, if in case you have to deposit to send a 10 to as breakpoint action in certain condition, you have to set up this table so that it matches the conditions for that position or alignment or space and orientation, etc., etc. We also support the previous orientation. So, for example, you can set here narrow orientation. You see here, these are the valid values. It's also explained on the online guide. And if the best match will return the correct, the value that you desire. The priority is useful in case a row has multiple matches. For example, here, the first row will match everything because it has all null, but it has lower priority. So in case there is spacing far, this other row with values 3 and 4 will have priority on the other match, on the generic match. This information is forwarded to SDM by the track loading system that does calculation based on the specific load plan, and then it will be forwarded to the LGV manager and LGV only when depositing in the trailer. Similar to this, but it's more about SDM capabilities. It's a mapped row configuration. So this allows you to send to SDM an extra row that is useful in case you want to do some logics in the deposit location in the trailer based on this value. Why this is necessary? If we open a load plan, we see, for example, we can have, for example, a situation like this, where we have one only row in a position, but it's in the right. So what happens? This for a track loading system is row number 1, because on the left we are row number 1, then row number 2, and eventually number 3 if you choose 3 rows. So this is number 1, but maybe you will tell to SDM that when the alignment is right, this has to be row number 2 or number 3. This is on you. So you can configure then the strategies, actually customize the strategy to drop in the trailer by considering that extra column that is called SDM row. And it will be in the track load, in the table load plan of the SDM. Load plan position. I'll show you also load plan operation. It is for the stop operation. So at this point, at this moment, it's empty because I don't have active shipments. But you see that we have position, row level, and SDM row. So we can, with that table, we can, for example, have that row 1 in certain situation produces SDM row the value that we want. For example, 3. By default, SDM row will be the same as a row, but it's also not used by default. So these there are links to the reference in the online guide. Okay, this slide is finished. I don't know if there are questions. Okay. I will then move quickly to the first two exercises that I will perform. So we actually did already some of this exercise. 1 second, sorry. Okay, so the preliminary activity is to create a load pattern. I think we have already seen that. So let's check, yeah, it's this one. One. Then check in the container type, it's the default one. Yes. I will then add a shipment with this shipping message. I have already done it before the shipment we were using, so we'll leave that. So what is the alarm at this point? It's basically missing the load plan. So again, I set the container type training 1. I could directly start the track loading, but I want to check the load plan if it's as I expect. Exactly. At this point, I push the start track loading button. This is the confirmation of the load plan. If I show you quickly one thing. If not all the stock units, so not all the transport orders are associated, we get an error. Some ending units are not associated to any footprint. Now I redo the auto positioning, I save, and I can do start track loading. I can no more set the container type. The alarm has gone away. I have the transport orders. I also go in the web UI, but we can see also from here in the smart that 2 LGVs are going to get their stock units in the warehouse. So we can also have a look in the web UI, in the 3D or 2D web UI. So there is a deadlock because this layout is not great, but it should solve automatically. Yes. We see the first LGV that has loaded the first 20 units and is taken to the staging area. Meanwhile, we will see in a short time also the page updating. We can also click here. We can have a detail in this sidebar. You see there has been a deposit of 2 stock units, and we see staging progress moved to 2 of 11. So, for example, I could now suspend the maybe I wait a second. I could suspend the pre-staging, and we see that the track loading instead continues. I wait to finish this. And you see that in the moment before actually the system has released the Wi-Fi here. In this layout, I don't have the FIFO pickup, so I use this location as a pickup. So picking from here actually is like picking from this location. So now from pre-staging, these stock units are being moved in the track. First two and then the others. We have missed the trailer identification mission at the beginning. Maybe I will show you in another exercise, but first I want to show you this now. So the load plan position table with the 11 transport orders information, position 1, 2, etc., with the arrows. As you see, in this case, there is a single stock unit in this position, and the SDM row is 2. And this is why I have configured previously the system. The row mapping definition, as we have seen before. In case alignment is right, ignoring the spacing, I want the mapped row to be 2. With obviously only with the 1 and the unit per position. In the row number 1, but yeah, when the row number 1 precluding row is always occupied, no? As I said before, for the track loading. The leftmost is number 1, so even if it's on the right, the leftmost of the pattern. So now I can restart the pre-staging. As you see, it's all stopped in 4 of 11. Here we see a percentage in this page. We also see a progress in the delivery items and in the deliveries. No, in the delivery items only, actually. The deliveries can go to complete when they are complete. Okay, now the system started with the following load sequence. So another thing that is worth to show to you is that we have $11, so all the units have a row here. But we only have 6 stop operations because I have defined them only for the first ones in that load pattern, just as a test. You can see that the handling unit is null because this is a functionality for when the picking, so the picking stock units now will be ready in the system. I see David with a question.
Yes, just a small question about the pallet in the truck. Are shown graphically the pallet inside?
No,
or
at the moment, no. It's probably in the future we will develop it, but it's a bit more complicated since we will need to show them correctly, also considering the alignment, no? So it's not been developed at the moment.
Okay.
There is anyway possibility to extend what the information that are shown, because Meanwhile, the load plan position goes on. You see that we have a progress 8 of 11 in track loading. The staging is actually now 10 of 11. The first 8 are completed. What does it mean? That obviously the stock unit, a correct stock unit has been dropped in that location. Shipped stock unit is an important table. We have added the plan position. It's not a foreign key, but it's actually the ID of the load plan position. This. You see that they are also swapped because in this case we don't care. No, there were no routines about what has to go left to right. They were identical stock units in couples, and so we have taken them to staging without any pairing, splitting, rotation, or things like that. We will see later how to configure that, but we will not do a in detail exercise about that because it takes a bit long. So using these tables, especially starting from the shipped stock unit, you have the possibility to verify if the shipment has been completed. So at the moment, okay, we are missing one. Okay, I see. No, this is another page. Okay, we have the system here that has taken split the 2 stock units. One was here. Now it has been taken by the LGV and is going in the truck in the trailer. So I expect now to have 11 rows. Okay, still not good. Not the ID. Now it has the ID, and in fact now it's completed 11 and 11. With this information, you can keep track of what has been shipped exactly. So even maybe if the customer requires a page showing what stock unit has gone in which position, etc. Davide?
Francesco, what about the track identifier?
Sì,
the first mission that we do.
Sì, track identification. So you want to see how it works. Yeah, basically I didn't tell you what determines if it has to be executed. So how does it work? It's actually in a slide, but I will tell you now. Then when we see it again, it will be quicker to see. The trailer identification is necessary, as I said before, only when the first mission in the trailer is composed of at least 2 rows, so 2 rows, and performed obviously by a double LGV. So this is hard-coded in the track loading system logics. What happens then? I show you the messages. This. Okay, so this is a UTC, so it's like 12 minutes ago. This is the load plan received from sent from track loading system. to STM. Also, it has been sent to LGV Manager, but LGV Manager we don't have the history of the messages. So I show you here. What's the content? Obviously, we have the shipment number, the chosen dock, okay. All this information you see here is the transport orders information. So they are needed to populate by SDM to populate these tables. Load plan position and load plan operation. One page. Okay, so you see that the first 6 have operation in a new unit. The others are without. This is the reason why we have only for the first 6 these actions. But important to respond to Davide is that we have this flag that requires identification true. So this has been decided by the uploading system. If it's true, since this message is also received by LGV Manager, the LGV Manager performs a trailer identification operation. So now I will create another shipment to show to you this, because it's very quick. Okay. This is a completed shipment. I start another one. We choose another dock. With its staging area. I need to activate obviously. Now the information will arrive at the truck loading system. So at this point I can do set container type. Just a thing that I maybe can show you is that in this table we have the shipment currently active also in truck loading system with a limited quantity of information. Number basically. Can ready false, container type here is not set, etc. Then we have other tables like the load plan, for example. In this case, this is empty. The other shipment has the correct load plan that we have decided before. So I choose, I don't know, training 1 again. I start the truck loading. We check now. You see that LGV is immediately going to do this mission. If you are curious to see in the LGV Manager or some parameters, they stop at the segments. But you see the directory is LGV Manager and the destination is door 16. So this is the trailer identification mission. If we check the messages, again, we have the new load plan that requires the identification. For the moment, we are not receiving the TRID, trailer identified message. If I check the dock table, I see that trailer identified for the 16 is 0. I unblock the segment location. This mission will be completed. It's done. At this point, I expect to have 1 as trailer identified. And in fact, I have received this message from LGV manager that say that this dock for this shipment is identified. I should code 0.
The parameter still saved on the LGV manager database, the parameter that the LGV needs for each operation.
Yeah, it's saved in the LGV manager. I'm not sure where in the table, but there should be. Truck loading or similar. Yeah, here you have the shipment number. And honestly, I don't know which is the parameter of the trailer.
The parameters, the array, the string array 000. Okay, that one.
Ah, there is 3 here. See,
so this doesn't change.
In case the trailer was not requested by the truck loading system, the trailer identification was not requested. Obviously, the LGV manager does not perform the mission, and it can already release the shipment, no? Execute the shipment. A small clarification also is that LGV manager will not execute missions that are directed to the trailer if the identification is required and not performed. But this can cause a problem in SDM in case of pick and drop, so the famous UPDM message, operation message, and in case of cross-docking, because SDM tries to send the mission of an NGV that is already loaded to the trailer in case of direct truck loading without prestaging. So in that case, we block in SDM the cross-docking and the drop and pick in case the trailer identification is required, is not already done, and there is a direct truck loading without prestaging. So our exercise is continuing also for the second shipment. I think I can close this shipment. You can also cancel it. If you cancel, it will be considered cancelled. The stock units will stay in the trailer. If you do close, they will be removed from the system. So this is complete. I can close without notes, but I can also add one. And now it is deleting. If I try to close this, for example, I will get an error. So it say that I have to specify a note because it's short. I do it, I will get another error, a warning actually. Before you can mark an incomplete shipment as loaded, you must suspend it with full code shipment suspension by operator. So if I want to stop here for some reason, I can suspend the shipment. So the system was performing some pairing and splitting here. Now probably it will stop anyway. It will not do the staging. And at this point, I can close the shipment, but probably I have to wait this transporter to stop. let's wait 10 seconds. This was a pairing being performed. Okay, now if I refresh, it's more in transit. I can close or I can cancel. See, I get an error. I need to specify a note. Maybe this time I cancel instead of closing. So the staging lane, yeah, okay, that's empty because everything has been already loaded in the track, everything that was staged. You see the shipment are closed, so the rectangles here disappear because now the dock are free, in the meaning that they don't have a shipment associated. Identified will be set to 0 when a new shipment would be associated. But actually, there are stock units in one of the two docks. At the moment, I don't remember which it is, but it's possible from the dock door page to clean it. I think it was this. Okay, now it's done. If I do it again, I get an error, nothing to move to couch. So the clear by default, clear of dock moves to couch. If I do in the other location trailer that I used, sorry, dock doors or trailer, it gives me an error because I have completed the shipment last time. So there is already nothing. The shipped stock units are deleted from the system. Historical shipping orders. Okay. This one. So this is the shipped one. You see that we have 11 new units with the PMs. If we need some information also for sending or showing more info to the customer, it's possible to customize, but no more in this table because they are empty. Instead, in the historical, we have all the tests also that I did previously. And I also canceled that I completed 0. You have all the data to know which stock unit from the shipped unit. This stock unit linked to the ID.10 position row, that is this. See the 83, 82 are completed. In fact, they have a shipped stock unit pointing to that. These tables are also in the MBD history, where they will remain for longer, by default, I think 6 months. It's currently the same content, but the historical on the local DB, as you know, stays for shorter, 15 days by default. Okay, in fact, this is basically the same queries I inserted in the slide of this exercise. This is the thing that I have added as information. By default, we don't allow to replace stock units when doing a truck loading system. If needed, it's customizable, but there can be other scenarios to consider then. Okay. Would you like to have a break now, or we can do another exercise that will take 10 minutes? So if nobody say that they want a break, I will do it now. The exercise.
Go ahead.
Okay. So this is the auto positioning customization. So the auto positioning is the ability to auto populate the stock units in the load pattern to obtain automatically a load plan. So by default, we provide two strategies that are a bit generic, I would say, no? And they are the default and the stacking. So the stacking, it's considered the stacking capability of the stock unit that is under, and will put the stock units first on the floor, and then starting from the first position by stacking, obviously considering the load sequence. But there could be scenarios where you need a different behaviors. So what I thought for this training is an example strategy that tries to assign positions with one footprint. So position with only one row to delivery items that have an odd number of stock units. This is useful in case of double fault and GV to minimize the number of splittings and pairings. So I show you now, and then I return to this slide a bit what's the point. So what I want to do is that the strategy, the auto positioning, in this case, fills this plan in this way. So here we have only one row in position number 2. Why did we put number 5 and not number 3? We can, because they are the same sequence. This is the delivery sequence. But we decided to use this because here we have a single, and this delivery item, with this item, 1005, it has these 3 stock units only. So outnumber. Putting the number 5 here allows us to avoid the splitting of number 3 and number 4. So we can take these 2 couples in the first position and in the third position. Then number 6 and 7 will go in again here, and then we move to the other sequence where again number 10 is before 8 and 9 because it's a single. That there's only one stock unit of this delivery item. And then we are able to avoid the split and the pairing and simply take number 8 and 9 in the end of the trailer. So I return a bit back, and these are the instructions to create a strategy. Now I have already prepared, and it's actually in your in the zip file that I sent to you. I have prepared a solution. Very small. We've already implemented the strategy. I will show it to you quickly. So for convenience, I added the copy of the default strategy. And also, I've added this new strategy that I developed a few days ago. So how does this work? The system is able to load by reflection a class that implements this interface. So what I did, and it's written in the instruction, is to create a C# class .NET 6 C# library, adding as dependencies these assemblies. These are produced by the track loading system. You can find it attached in this zip and also in an installed track loading system. So maybe you have a different version in the future, you should take from there. And also Microsoft Extension Logging abstraction that is also actually importable as a NuGet. So anyway, what I did is to create a class that implements this. Implementing this interface requires to implement this method. So this method, it has all the information that are needed to calculate a strategy because it has the pattern configuration. So it's a list of positions. And it has the list of delivery handling units, so all the transport orders that need to be associated to the load pattern. And also the container rate to do a check. In this case, I didn't check the container rate because the variable is not used. The constructor made like this allows you to add logs to the execution of this strategy. So what I've done here is basically first I check that there are not too many ending units. So this is the list of the footprints. Sorry, of the position. Every position has one or more footprints. So for example, this position has all these positions has 2 footprints except this one that has 1 footprint. So now I will not explain all the algorithm in details, but more or less what I did is to obtain an ordered version of this object. So you see that we still return a list of load pattern position, but with the difference that for every position, we associate inside it a stock unit. So in the delivery ending units of the footprints, in the end, we will add this object. So what you need to do is to follow the guide and start from an already implemented strategy like this. In this case, I went through after checking the delivery ending units, I created an object that has the load pattern configuration, so the list of patterns ordered by position. Sorry, not the list of patterns, the list of positions ordered by the first to the last. So I'm able to work on it one position at a time. As you see here, I started the elaboration by the first load sequence. So the load sequence now is clearly, it's important that the first load sequence is loaded first in the track. So I created a set of the delivery ending units grouped by load sequence. And then I ordered, I run on this ordering by key. That is the grouping key, so load sequence number, and selecting a delivery ending unit. So now I am looping on all the delivering units of the first lot sequence. Here I added a method that helps to group the delivery item and units. Now I don't show you all the details, but I will have in this table, in this enumerable, a list of groups. Every group has the ID of the delivery item in SDM, and then a set of MD units. In this way, I can cycle and calculate. This checks the even or odd quantity of the number of free footprints in the current position that I am analyzing, and I can add the correct stock unit. So in an iterative way, I did this. Obviously, this is just an example. So what happens basically, and now I will demonstrate what I can do with this strategy. So if we see at the moment in the strategy, in the pattern, we only have the default and the stacking. If I compile my project, I obtain DLL files, a DLL file, obviously. And now I did in the bug, but it's not a problem for the training. I see now that David has a question.
Just a small question about the standard strategy. Today we have two, probably in the future will be more. This strategy, so this class will be open. So if we have something similar but to customize, can we start from something already existing or not?
So the code is provided of the default, also the one of this training. So yes, you can start from this. Absolutely. But at the moment, you will not edit the default, but you will add a copy of the default, like I did here. Now, for example, in this test, I also added a copy of the default strategy. This is, except the name of the class is exactly as the default. As you see, the default is very simple. When I compile, both the strategies will be available. So for further more than the default, we will have also the new ones. I can also you can copy the default and create all the versions that you want with just need to have a different name. So what's needed to run it is add folder if missing plugins in the track loading system service. Restart the service. You see that now there is also the training one and the copy of default strategies. Before there were only the first two. I can go here. We see again that we also have this training one and copy of default. I have prepared training custom pattern already that is like the one shown in the slide. So like this. Obviously, here it's longer, but only the existing stock units will be used. I set the training strategy. And at this point, if I add a new shipment, if I set the custom, check the load plan, we see that the disposition is as I shown in the slide. So we have put the 5 that is single, that is odd, in a single position, in a position with one row, instead of going randomly. If I edit the pattern by choosing, creating a copy using the default or even the copy of default strategy, and I do auto position, you see that now I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 disposition that is not convenient because we need a split here, and then a pairing with the 4 and 5 that are of different type. Also here a problem with 9 and 10 that are different types, so a split and another pairing. Returning to the training custom. Again, we have the desired auto position because this uses the custom strategy. The logs that I've added just as an example are visible here. Okay, now I have a log level that is information, so it's a bit too much, but because there is also the shipment page that is showing. It is showing the information. Anyway, when I click auto position, you see here the log. Training position strategy 1, calculate and unify begin and end with success. That are the logs that I have added here and here. The logs are very useful because without the source code of the track loading system, if you need to debug these, you will have to add the logs in this procedure. Then we will see if that decision will be final. That's the current idea. So this exercise is complete. I added in this slide also this the default strategy, but you will have also the customized one. You have it in the files. So if there are no questions, we can have a break, and we can meet at 4:15. So let's go with the fifth chapter of this training. It is about how SDM has been adapted to manage the automatic track loading and how it can be customized to accomplish the requirements of various plans. So this is an introduction showing which are the tables basically involved in automatic track loading in SDN. We have already seen some of them earlier. So obviously we have the shipment with the track loading flag through means automatic track loading, and obviously the pre-staging flag that can be true or false with automatic track loading as true. Shipping.load plan position, we have seen the table. It contains the information of the return from the track loading system, so where each transport order has to go. But the identification of the transport order is not by ID, except in a future scenario of peaking. So the identification is obviously that item quantity and ID delivery. It has to go in a specific position or level. So there can be many stock units with these same values, item quantity and delivery, that can occupy different positions. So the SDM will then be able to associate and decide where to send the stock units, and without being too rigid, no? It can swap stock units that are equivalent. The shipping.10 operation table, we have seen before. It's about the stop operations. So it's very similar to the, I mean, the keys are pointing to the load plan position by shipment now position, row and level. And it's not mandatory to have a row for every transport order. Shipped stock unit, instead, we have seen that is the table that contains information, you already know it, about the staging and the loading of stock unit. We have added this column to associate it to the load plan position that has effectively been used for that stock unit. So here it's written that if a stock unit, or better, a set of stock units is loaded first before another set that had a previous theoretical order, they can be swapped. Grazie intanto che ha avviato la registrazione. Mi avevo dimenticato. So, shipping dock signal, we already seen it's linked to the shipping dock, and it is updated by the RGB manager, as we have seen. So, shipping dock. I'm going now to show you further details about this table that we already seen. We have the possibility, a bit that is called bypass signal. It's what we have seen from the page, dock doors. It can turn off or on automatic availability. So it's basically the value of that bit. The ID trailer location, it's a column that you have to manually configure by setting the trailer or automatic track loading conveyor location that is associated to that dock. So these two types of location behave in a different way. I'll show you now. The trailer is the classic trailer where the LGV enters to do the track loading. And it's the typical, but in some scenarios, we have this type of conveyors that are prepared in the warehouse, and then they move inside the trailer. Also, the drop by LGV is also always performed in the first position. So the LGV does not go inside anything. What happens is that we need to tell the LGV that the drop position is always number 1. But after we have moved the pallet in SDM, there is a strategy that automatically positions the pallet in the deepest possible position and completes the load plan. And associate obviously the shipped stock unit with the load plan. The warehouse to booking table, this is an important table about the routing. So what happens is that here the system goes to store information about which stock unit has to reach which position, and if it has to be in a wide or narrow orientation, for example. So this is calculated by this procedure, the book shipment transport order track loading, that is called by the release transport orders. And despite a specific stock unit is associated to a specific position in the booking, actually it is possible to send in that position a different stock unit because the swap is allowed if the stock units are equivalent. So if they have the same load sequence. For example, we can have also groups of multiple stock units, maybe even 4, 2 rows, 2 levels. But if these groups are identical, they will have the same load sequence, different pairing group to differentiate the fact that they will enter the truck in different moments. But since they have the same load sequence, they can be swapped each other. So it's not important which one of the arrives first on the trailer. Then the system is able to adjust the bookings during the swaps. So about pairing, splitting, the stacking, and rotation, SDM provides a routing system with all its configuration. I've added here the reference to the guide. I will not go through this obviously because the routing is completely another chapter, but it's important for the automatic track loading, especially in case of rotation and in general in case of pairing a split to configure the routing. I also added this slide about the pinwheeling. So it's a way to load stock units similar to this image to save space with some type of stock units. And loading the stock units on LGVs in this way, if this is performed with a double force LGV, requires the open mode parameter to be set to these values. We have integrated this management in the SDM, so it's not needed to customize it. in general. Anytime LGV, every time SDM recognizes the LGV has to pick up 2 stock units paired that have not the same rotation, it will set the correct open mode and send it to the PPOS message, pickup message of LGV. PPOS, sorry. For a point action, I have already explained this before. So they are stored on the load plan position. Maybe we have not seen where they are, but they arrive with the load plan. So they are stored here. And when SDM has to do a drop in the trailer, it will forward this information to the LGV manager in the post message. In theory, it's possible also for ATL CNB, but I think in that case, we don't need to configure these operations. The stop operations also we have seen them on the load plan operation table. I already explained that they cause the depose message a specific parameter of bit to be set, and smart will stop the LGV before the last segment with a generic alarm. So this, I know that in the past this has been customized, but by default now we provide this solution. Obviously, it's possible to customize eventually with the LGVs if it is requested. Okay, now I show you a little of detail about the lifetime of the shipment in SDM. So we have already seen in the exercise what are the phases: activation, dock selection, and then we have to eventually start the shipment and eventually, sorry, do the trailer identification. And in the end, when the shipment is complete, we can close it or cancel it, and it will be sent to history. So shipment start is all the first part of the life of the shipment that does not involve active operations in the truck loading system, or at least, I mean, it does not, involve operations in the physical LGV movements. So here is when SDM receives information of the shipment, normally by ERP. There can be an activation, manual or automatic, with a specific setting in the common application settings of SDM. The status goes to new order. Then at this point, the interaction with the TLS starts in only one direction initially. So the ship message is sent to TLS. In this way, TLS creates the shipment. Then when it knows the dock, it will allow to set the container type. And then it will be possible to press start truck loading when a load plan is valid. The shipment will stay here and wait start confirm. and until the load plan is received. So, for example, in case of error importing the load plan, it will be possible again to push the start track loading button until the plan is successfully imported. That's obviously an unhappy flow. In case there are problems, it's possible to fix the problem and then repeat the start track loading operation and import correctly. I have provided here an example of ship-ins message from ERP with some optional fields that can be useful. Obviously, track loading and pre-staging. Obviously, track loading must be true or 1. It's possible to specify the preferred dock and the preferred staging area directly from the ERP. So the field name is dock and staging area, but they are actually the preferred ones. If these flags are set to 1, they become mandatory. So it's very similar to what happens in the selection of the dock and staging area in the web UI, where there are 2 toggles that can that are called exactly use preferred dock and use preferred staging area. Those set as mandatory the selection, otherwise it's only preferred. Yeah, and one thing is important to remember that it's on table shipping.doc that the actual real dock is stored. So on the shipment, we only have the preferred dock. But the actual dock of a shipment is on table. Shipping.doc, and it is a reversed relation. So if you need, and this also would reply to something, so a question that I received this morning, if it's needed, for example, to force that this the usage of preferred dock from the ERP, even if these parameters are not sent, it's possible to add these procedures of the shipment creation XML by changing the behavior and always set the use preferred dock when it is received from the ERP. Maybe checking that it exists. Also in the dock selection strategy FIFO, there can be customizations to manage how the dock is selected. And also here it's where the system stops and avoids to assign a dock that is already assigned to another shipment. So if we receive 2 shipments from ERP, both for the same dock and both with the use preferred dock, only the first one will be assigned at the moment on table dock within the ID active shipment. The other will stay in waiting assignment until the docker is free again. Trailer identification. Okay, as I explained before, only in case of trailer, so not in case of automatic track loading conveyor or also called ANCRA. Only for the load forks, and if the first deposit mission has to drop 2 rows. We have already seen this. The manager doesn't execute the mission directed to the trailer until the identification required is done, and the same for SDM for drop and pick and cross-docking in case of no pre-staging. TR ID message, we have seen it. It contains, it confirms that the identification has been done. And then the third phase of the shipment is when the load plan is received. The transport orders can physically start. They are executed. I mean, when this operation is finished, we have the possibility to close the shipment or to cancel it. So the close action can be done when it's started, after suspending the transport orders, or later when it's staged. It means that all the shipment has been loaded. Because in case of automatic truck loading, the shipment goes to staged status only when it's completely loaded, not only when it's completely staged. So basically when the LGV movements have finished. Cancel is possible, obviously, and there is a difference on the status of the shipment. A note here. So this guide was made for a version in development. The ship cancel message does not exist in version 1.1 of Smiley. So also when you cancel, the message used is SHP CNP, ship complete. It doesn't change actually because the shipment anyway, it has the correct status, shipped or deleted, even though only one message exists. So it's just an architectural difference, but with no behavioral change. So this is a bit of theory about the handling transport order table. We have actually not seen this part before. So how does the system link the transport orders to the load plan? So the load plan position table of the SDM. And this is done through this relationship table, transport order to load plan position. So when the shipment starts, so after the load plan is imported, there is a procedure that associates, called by a release transport order, that associates the shipment transport orders of automatic truck loading shipments to the load plan position. At this point, it will be possible to execute them. After this association, also some important field will be updated on the transport order. So the load sequence will be updated with the one received from the load plan. And the pairing group also will be set with the correct pairing group. So, for example, if I show you a plan so we can understand better, in this scenario, we will have that these two pallets have the first load sequence. Then we have a single one. So we need to switch sequence because this cannot arrive the first this coupled. So we will have, obviously this speaking about double LGV. It's decided by the truck loading system that knows that we are using a double fork LGV. If we were using a single fork LGV, this, and I mean the stock units single are equivalent, not the 1 and 5 because they are of different item. But if I choose another a simpler plan pattern with a planning strategy like this, for example, and let's do this example. I put this and this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the same item. 1, 2, 3, 4. If we have a single fork LGV, these are all equivalent because they have same rotation and they are the same stock unit. But if we have double forks, this couple, even if the pallets are the same, this couple is not equivalent to this single stock unit and to this. So we will have the first load sequence for these two pallets. And they will also have bearing group number 1. Then we will have second load sequence for these pallets. And third load sequence, sorry, and again, second load sequence for this pallet because these two are equivalent. So load sequence 1, load sequence 2, load sequence 2. Pairing group 1, pairing group 2, pairing group 3. Pairing group changes because these two pallets will enter in the trailer in different moments. David?
The load sequence can be in some way chosen by the strategy. For example, if we don't mind, we have different SKUs, but we don't mind which arrive first because all are in the same load sequence. So in case of different SKU, can we leave the same load sequence?
No, by default, this is not happening because if the SKU changes, the load sequence changes. So this is a thing that we can modify with probably an option, but at the moment, because the strategy does not decide the sequence, the strategy decides the plan. Then on that, the sequence is determined in a static way. Static, I mean that the code is fixed. But there is also the chance that we could make it customizable with similarly to the strategies. So maybe we will add options to change the behavior. We need to see how many are the possibilities, because if it's only something like a case when not changing item should not switch the load sequence, then we can do 1, 2, 3 options, the one that are needed. But if we see that it's an infinite quantity of possibilities, then we will need to allow customization of that part.
Okay, take a note. We will see.
See, in fact, I also take a note of this. Okay. So two stock units, so group of stock units that have the same pairing group, sorry, that have the same load sequence, but different pairing group can be switched, no? Instead, stock units that have the same pairing group will for sure have the same load sequence, but same pairing group means that they must enter the trailer in the same operation, so with the same mission. The space column of the transport order, this is used to manage what's it's also only about the shipments. So it is a 0 when before the shipment can start. So before the bookings, the required bookings are performed. Then when we receive the load plan and the required bookings are performed, the transport orders are set to the staging to the staging phase if the pre-staging is requested. otherwise directly to phase number 2. If pre-staging is requested, when the pre-staging is done, the transport orders are parked in the staging area and the phase is moved to 2. And then there is to suspend, but it's about the suspension. This is also actually on the shipment column. There are, sorry, on the shipment table there is a truck loading suspended and pre-staging suspended columns that manage the suspension of the system by user input or by fault codes of the shipment. So this slide is about instead the custom strategies of the 2 types of locations that are allowed by default as associated to the dock. So the guest operator position underscore TRL, the trailer, is the drop customized for the trailer. The other strategies for this location are, well, there are not many because it's not allowed to pick up from here, but basically uses the default strategies. What's particular and important about this drop position strategy is that it is able to check the load plan. So it reads the table shipping.load plan position to understand if the pallet that is going to be dropped can be dropped now. I have the code here. So it's not very complex. It basically uses the relation of the transport order to the load plan position to understand which is the load sequence and the load group. Then it's also able to swap identical load groups, so load groups that have the same load sequence, and it returns where to drop based on the load plan. In case the behavior is different if the resource is already at the deposit location, it tries to drop, but it checks that we are in sequence. If we are not in sequence for system error, then the deposit is not possible and probably the shipment will need to be completed manually. Here instead the check is a bit different. It considers the deepest unfilled trailer position to belong to the same load sequence. Instead here, the bookings are excluded. Anyway, if you need to customize this, obviously can be changed. But it's based on the other strategies like the block storage one, but with the introduction and the addition of the load plan and removing some checks about the better position to drop, because maybe if the plan say that we have to leave a free space, we will leave a free space. Doesn't check the occupation of the location like the block storage, for example, does. Similar to that, there is the guest operating operation ATL CNV, so for the ANCRA for the Ankara conveyors. The difference is that at the end, it returns to LGV to deposit in position 1. Position 1 that is the most external in case of Ankara. So it's, for example, if we have a plan like this, let's say that this is the trader, we arrive, it's always in the fixed position behind the conveyor. So we return 1 because it's the only known position by the LGV manager. Then what happens? It's involved with this other strategy of this type of location. So after the PAL is received from LGV manager, we logically move the stock unit because LGV manager returns that it has deposited in position 1, but instead we have to do a movement that is what is the load plan. So, and also considering the occupied positions. So if we have deposited the pairing group in position 1 already, if the location is occupied and arrive again at position 1, we know in that strategy that it must go in position 2. And then again, so logically, we will fill the correct position like in the load plan, even though the deposits are all in position 1 of the LGV. Then a little information about staging lane stacking. So we have not developed a specific strategy for truck loading about the staging lane. In some scenarios, the default, for example, the drop position block storage, normally the staging lane is a block storage. So it will have this strategy. It could be good. But for example, in case of stacking, if the stacking has to be done in the staging lane, so not before in a specific location, but depositing in the staging lane to obtain the final stacking, you will need a specific strategy, because when you arrive with the latest stock unit to decide if dropping them over the existing ones or on the floor in the following position, you have to check the load plan. So here I added that it's possible to have a look at this procedure, the drop of trailer, to develop. I think it's pretty easy. Customized dropping procedure for a staging lane based on the requirements of the plant. I also added this note that stacking operation cannot be performed inside the trailer. It's, as I know, a physical and mechanical limitation of the LGVs. So every time you need stacking, it will be performed in staging or before the pre-staging, but not directly in the trailer. So the point is that when the situation you will have in the staging lane will be the same that you will have in the trailer about the stacking. Are there any questions about this? Otherwise, I move to the following. Following point, that is an exercise that I will do. So this is about the automatic selection of the load pattern. So this functionality allows the ERP to directly select the load patterns, the container type and the load pattern. It's possible to specify the container type and not the load pattern. In that case, the default load pattern of that container type will be used. Otherwise, it's possible to specify also explicitly a load pattern, but it must be a load pattern that is associated to the container type. If none of these are specified, it's the normal situation, and the operator will have to select the container type. We will see also how to sorry, how to decide the load pattern in SDN, and also be able to change it manually. So I will get the files needed. Okay, we are sending a message with the container type training custom 1. Load pattern will be empty. Should be a 10 stock units shipment. Let's see. So this. Okay, so this shipment, now I don't have automatic activation, and I also have not set a strategy to decide the doc, so I will choose manually doc. At this point, as you have seen, I have not clicked set container type, and it's not even visible. But I already have the load plan prepared. So in this version, it is read-only. You can change, you cannot change it, and you can't change the container type. You see, set container type is not available. This is because, I mean, by design, when the manager value, as explained in the slide, is ERP, the shipment in truck loading system is not editable by the operator. Anyway, we will see later how it's possible to import, pre-select load plan and load pattern, but without manager ERP, but manages my data, so the operator can change it, editing or even changing the container type or changing only the pattern or the position of some stock units. So here it's possible to do start truck loading basically without doing much. The alarm was for the missing load plan. Now it's arrived. The alarm is gone. There are transport orders. Okay, and the shipment will be executed as expected. I will now do another version that can be useful if you want to, as I said before, preset the container type and the load pattern, but without the need to without the constraint of not being able to change it anymore. So how can this be achievable? It can be done in this way: changing the procedure that creates the shipment message. Procedure is this one. Shipment. So obviously we cannot change the content of the message. Sorry, the structure of the message, but we can change the content. So for example, maybe we want to change the value of the container type and the load pattern that we send to the track loading system. So I have prepared, and it's available in the exercises, this version with a modification. It's in the exercise 3 folder. This is the custom part. So in place of the container type taken from the shipment table, imported from ERP, I added a customization very specific, just to demonstrate. If the shipment status is bigger than 2, so not at the beginning, and the number of expecting units is 25 or 26, I choose this container type. Then similar, if for the load pattern, if the shipment status is bigger than 2, so bigger than 2 means from waiting assignment on. So when the transport orders are already created, basically. So if the transport orders are already created and we are expecting this number of ending units, then I choose this pattern. If in case of 25, otherwise 26, I choose training 2. In all the other situations, I keep the previous behavior that was to do simply the ERP load pattern that can arrive from the ERP or cannot arrive from the ERP. So this is the script to create also present in the exercise. We create 2 shipments here. As you see, container type and load pattern are empty. It's the same also without specifying this in the XML. So what happens? I insert the shipments. Don't need it anymore. So these are the two shipments that we have prepared. At this point, still I cannot do nothing because I need to activate can set a rand doc. The order of the operation is not important. For example, I can set the doc in this. And then I activate it. This was already activated. I set the doc. So what happens here? At the moment, nothing, because I forgot to apply the modified version of the procedure. So I execute the script. I will add 2 other shipments. So, I mean, you have seen that there is no container type and no load pattern, at least, but I can set it manually. So now, if I create again the shipments, as you see, I have received the information about what load pattern and container type to use. And this was performed by this procedure, no? The coding this part. Obviously, this pattern trying to exist, and they are associated to this container type. In fact, if we see, we can change it, we can add it. This is for the 26 stock units. You see that there are all the 3 options, but it has been chosen this. Instead, the other shipment, the one with 25 stock units, it has a different pattern that has only 25 spaces. It was made on purpose. So, for example, this is a way to automatically choose the pattern in SDM based on the number of stock units that will be in the shipment. Hi, Davide.
Not understood what was the difference that before it was not changeable and now yes, because
okay.
Yeah, in both time you put a value in message ship, correct?
Yes. So if that's a good question, I actually wanted to clarify, but in the previous slide. So when the shipment is moved in a new order, so status number 2, the ship message is sent to the truck loading system already. Normally, let me demonstrate it. let's see if we can read that. There can be many messages anyway. Like this. So this is when the ship message when the status is new order. And this is in another status like waiting assignment. You see that this part basically is the same. Okay, they are two different shipments, but we are missing all the rest. No. Anyway, what happens if we receive the container type and eventually the load pattern directly from the ERP? We will see that the initial message, that is probably this. No. It's this. You see that already at the beginning we had the container type. So this is the first message for this shipment that has been sent to the truck loading system. The container type it has already a value because it was taken by the original version. So like this. From the shipment.erp container type. And what happens when the TLS truck loading system receives a shipment with already this information at the beginning? It will be created only modifiable by the ERP. So you will have the manager of the shipment that is set to ERP. Instead, I don't know if you remember before it had ERP. Instead, this one it has manager Smile 80. So this has been developed like this. I exactly don't know which is the scenario. Probably it's a scenario where the ERP has to decide everything. I don't know if it's enough to do everything, honestly, because we didn't have the final specifications. But at the moment, this is what happens if at the beginning we already have the container type.
So in case it can be changed by another ship message with different information.
It can be changed by another ship message. Yes.
Okay.
It can be changed because let's see if I can do it. You see the RP, I do another one. Let's say training custom one. Process shippings, yeah, this could be able to update also. So I have sent. And I have the message. No, not yet, because I have to activate the shipment list. And now I have it. We see that we have the container type. And we see that the manager is ERP. Container type is set to training custom one. Now let's check what other container type I can use. Test one, I think. Test one. It's existing, okay. But let's see, it depends if the procedure allows me, no, the shipment with track loading cannot be updated anymore since it's already been sent to the track loading service. So this is our default, is the procedure of process shipment update XML. Editing this, probably it's possible to modify. Try just for a test. Okay. Yes, but it doesn't send the updated message. It needs to customize also to resend the message if we allow that update, but I will set a doc. And this could trigger what we need. Not exactly, because now we have all the information. Okay, now I see what happens, Davide. Okay, now I stop, but we needed also to change that field, because this procedure, the update one that I edited, doesn't update that field by default. So if we needed, it's necessary to customize and change here. Maybe if we have time, I do it later. So I return to these two shipments here with the managers my80. We have seen that okay, that the plan is also changeable. The container type is changeable, but it was set by default. Yeah, that's actually the point of this exercise. I don't know if there are more questions. Okay. And I move to the 7 out of 8 slide. So this is a way that we provide to automate the start track loading of track loading system. That is the only thing that in a lifetime of a shipment with track loading is not currently automated, because it's possible to activate automatically with a setting. This one, automatic activation enabled in SDM. It's possible to set the doc with a strategy or receiving it from the ERP, but the pressure of this button is not automatic. So we provide a process called TLS simulation service that can be used for this. I know that there will be probably the need to use this not for simulation, but in production environment, deciding with the SDM logics when to start the track loading. We will probably add a tool to do this in SDM. We will need to analyze how to do it, but for sure it's possible to develop it for us. Or we could give you the source of this simulation service and adapt to so that you can adapt it to the specific needs.
Francesco, as we spoke already in the morning, I think, I don't know, if you will have to change something, the better way probably is to add the option in the ship message to avoiding put other services also in production and so on.
Yes, probably it's the best one. Yeah, I think it should cover most of the possibility. Give me a second. So anyway, this tool is useful for the simulation. So if you set up a simulation environment that goes 24/7, you need something that starts automatically the shipments, and this is done with this tool. So this tool is provided in the exercise 4 folder. It's the binaries actually. I have already copied it on one of these servers. I show you by default it has let's do it properly. By default it has setting that will not work. If I start it, I will get an error. Wrong IP address, IP port, that's what written here. So I put the correct IP address of Rabbit of this system. The port is not needed because it's the default. And at this point I can, first we'll have a look in the shipments. If some of them have a start track loading available, yes. All of them actually. We start the application and we see that it starts one by one the shipments. In the settings, it has a loop timeout, 5 seconds by default. So at this point, I think it has started all the 3 shipments. Yes, because the status is started, and the start track loading button is no more available. So this is provided for debugging. It can run in console or also installed as a service, but for the simulation, so I don't think it's worth to install it as a service. Okay, this exercise is already finished. There is just a note here how to set up the file. It changes a bit between version 1.1 and the 1.2 in future because we have changed some libraries for the Rabbit MQ setup. This uses the base library, so the shape of the file is a bit different in the names of these parameters. It will be different. Okay. At this point, I think that we move to the last page. That is troubleshooting and logging. Here we go. So as I said before, the source code probably will not be released to projects, so debugging of this software will not be possible in a classic way. So logging is fundamental for troubleshooting on these programs. It's the middleware. I don't expect the need to troubleshoot because it's very simple. Backloading system, especially with the custom strategies, maybe you need some troubleshooting, some logging for the problems that you could face. So we have seen that it's possible to run the application in a console. So we see all the logs. Like here, this is the middleware, this is the backloading system. It gives logs because I have the shipment page open, so there are reading operations that flow through RabbitMQ and with the information level set in the application config. We have a lot of logs going on. It's this one. If I stop this version of the system and I start it as a service, it's in the same folder, the logs continue, but they are only on disk. So in the default folder that is actually set this is the default folder for the logs, so backloading system. This is the log of today. We see that is continuing to log, but there are also the log of before when it was running not as a service. It's exactly the same. Clearly, when in production, it is important to change the log level to a lower value. Set of minimum level, just try. I do warning, for example. Stop. I save and I stop the service. Now I restart it as a console, so we see the log here easily. Yeah, it's not. Ok, Okay, now we don't see logs because there are no warnings. So this is the first way to troubleshooting. Obviously, for example, going in the custom strategy again, you have a logger that is available injected from the dependency injection system. You can in every point, also throw an exception, but that's probably not the best way. Troubleshoot, you can do log trace of the bug, and you write what you want. This way you can obviously have in this page with the proper login levels all the information that you need. So clearly it's not as debugging, but with this type of system, it's probably the best way to troubleshoot if debugging is not available. So common issues. Typical issue that you could face is timeout. So we do a test. I stop the track loading system. I go in the shipments page and we get internal server error. If I open the inspection, we'll have a detail in the network. The operation is timed out. Then there are much more details, but basically the API of the shipment is trying to contact the track loading system service to do the API composition, and the response, the reply does not arrive. Same if I go in the container type master data, tries to call after some seconds, we get timeout. But obviously, for example, the staging area page that is not does not rely on the track loading system, it's working. I restart the track loading system. And now the container type works, as well as the shipping management. So this is to check that the trustworthy system is running, check the logs in the fault location. Also, if the middleware is not running, some things may not reply, not the web page actually, but the messages from LGV manager, track loading, so they will not flow. And that's it. So another common issue is problems in the custom strategy for ending units. I think I've already shown you. You should check the logs at the startup, for example, in case you don't see the strategy that you have created. Maybe in these logs you can see why the system is not able to load the strategy. Here, for example, I just put a 7-zip file. And the system was trying to load from it because it was in a plugin. It's not possible, obviously, and returns an error like this. Instead, in case of a successful strategy loading at startup, you have a message similar to this in blue. And then, obviously, if the load works, but still you have problems, you have to add the logs in the custom strategy code to verify what data is wrong or what's not behaving like expected. So this is the last slide. If you have questions, we have still, in theory, 20 minutes. Okay, probably there are no questions. I invite you to please analyze the next plans you need to do with the track loading system, like, for example, Davide did, and tell us if you think that there can be missing functionalities or problems even before starting developing, so that we can provide a solution in time. Since it's not always easy to, as you know, to have access to the design of all the new plans that are incoming, and some things can be missed by us. Okay, guys. So I will wait online a couple more minutes, but if somebody has a question, but I think we are finished. I hope it was helpful. There was a lot of information. I will be synthetic maybe, but I guess that with the slides and exercises and the online documentation that is linked into the slides that we will send you later or tomorrow, you can manage to have the track loading system running.
Yeah, actually, I have a question because we are performing track loading PepsiCo plans, and we did a lot. I mean, not a lot, but some modification at the also for GUI visualization, and probably the customer is expecting this modification for all the plans. So I don't know. Maybe we should like perform some modification for only PepsiCo. I don't know, something like, I know that there was a question similar for Georgia Pacific, but since we cannot modify anymore the GUI by ourselves, maybe just a discussion that we need to do for specific projects, big projects.
Okay, but please explain me better what customizations did you do or you plan to do in all the PepsiCo? Is it,
for example, something, I mean, for example, something to show the signals of the truck, like if the truck is hooked, if the identification is performed, if it's waiting for identification,
okay,
and something like that.
But where are you showing those info?
It's a custom page. The custom page or
okay,
in
it's
the
a custom
status
page.
of, yeah, but by the page by the Windows form on the old GUI. So that's why.
The old one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I had this aspect. Okay. No,
and also And also on the layout, I was putting, this is something also from the pre-staging, but on the layout page, since the operators are looking more the layout page and that's it, I was putting like a block for each staging area, for each dock, indicating some status of the shipment, like idle or waiting for identification, stage, start, something like that with different colors.
Okay. So in the 3D or 2D in the web of the web UI, there is no possibility to customize. But if something that is useful for many plants or extremely necessary for one plant, it's an implementation change that can be requested to Smile 80.
Okay.
So I don't know, showing something here, for example, no, in this sidebar, etc. Instead, about the pages, all these pages, not all these pages, it's possible to create new pages. The shipment page is customizable. The source code of the API behind this is provided, and it's possible to add new APIs to manage new pages. So if many plants need, for example, a new page, it can be shared by the developers of those plants, and they can add the same thing. But it can be also maybe asked if it's a page that could become standard in the product. And even if it's a configurable page, we could add it.
Okay, good. Another question that I have more for the track loading is about the identification. The TLS is performing, I mean, the logic of the identification is in the TLS or the LGU manager. I didn't get this.
So the logic of if to do the identification is in the TLS, but
okay.
Everything about the physical execution is in the LGV manager.
Okay, because I mean, from the old standard, there weren't the ATL parameters, and I'm just wondering if I mean, probably there are the ATL parameters where you save the ATL parameters sending from the LGV to the system, to LGV manager or TLS, whatever, and every time it can change during the identification, also during every drop. I don't know if
so during the drop, I think it's the point action and pre-point action that I have shown in the slides in the drop operations. So those are the parameters that can be customizable, and now they are customized here.
Now our values coming from the LGV. Okay. I don't know if there is a logic that are managed those parameters already, or it's like a big string of hexadecimal values.
Yeah, so some are actually managed. I don't know it in details, but for example, if you remember the slide of the pinwheeling, where there was a horizontal stock unit and a vertical stock unit aside of it, so a wide and an arrow, the LGV has to pick up with specific parameters. But that is on pickup, that is managed. Okay. So the parameters are sent by SDM to LGV, to LGV manager, sorry, and then from LGV manager to the LGV. For the drop operations, there is this table that allows to create these parameters that are sent in the depose message for the operations that match this this configuration. So you will have it in this table for the specific shipment. this, so in a specific position of the trailer, you will have these values. Here I have 2 and 1 because the configuration is made like this. Pre, and not pre. If it's not this, the parameter, I think that we have to maybe to check out with somebody that is more expert of the RGBs. But I think that it should be these drop parameters that create then the correct string for the LGB.
Well, I will check during the development if there is something.
Yeah, for sure. If you have doubts,
sure.
let us know. And the first you tell us about possible problems, the better. So it's welcome. So as Prandini wrote, we will send to the guests the recording with an email because I think that the guests don't have access to the recording of the meeting.
Only the poor guest. I don't know if it's
only
all
you.
guests.
No, okay, but we will send to. Maybe we send simply to everyone that who needs can download from there. Okay, so I think we can stop here. Let's call for questions. Otherwise, we will hear from you later. I thank you for listening to and following this session, and I wish you a good work. How do you say? Bye.
Thanks to you.
Thank
Bye.
you. No. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.